Recently, we at Agile 2 Academy interviewed Bjarte Bogsnes. You can find the interview in our YouTube channel. Bogsnes has a long international career, both in finance and HR. He's a pioneer of the Beyond Budgeting movement and helped numerous companies globally getting started on a Beyond Budgeting journey. He's chairman of the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable. He's a popular international business speaker and Beyond Budgeting coach, and a winner of a Harvard Business Review McKinsey Management Innovation Award. But what is Beyond Budgeting? Well, here's how he describes it.
It is about so much more than budgets. It's about challenging traditional management. Number one, that you can't trust people and employees, and number two, that the future is predictable and plannable. And this is not true, and this is what we are challenging in Beyond Budgeting.
During the same interview, we asked him on his thoughts about Agile methods. He had a lot to say.
Agile was not intended to be a way of running an enterprise. So when you try to scale Agile, these holes in Agile become visible. All the things that executive wants to understand when they hear about business agility, that Agile can't answer. But Beyond Budgeting can, because what through the management processes here, we can explain to these managers what business agility will mean when it comes to target setting, forecasting, resource allocation, performance evaluation, rewards, and the cadence of these processes. The combination of Agile and Beyond Budgeting is a great one. And I would argue there can be no Agile transformation without Beyond Budgeting. And that's where we are today, where maybe this is one reason why, or many, why Agile has been struggling, because there's so much missing when it comes to scaling.
These holes are why Agile has struggled. The problem is that an organization is much more than a collection of teams. For an organization to function well, let alone move fast in a collective sense, there's much more that needs to happen than Agile ideas address. Bogsnes lists important things that Agile ignores: target setting, forecasting, resource allocation, funding, performance evaluation, rewards, and planning cadence and processes. It's not enough to say, use Scrum and leave the rest to the team. And frameworks such as Scaled Agile, aka SAFe, don't even address many of these things, or do so in a way that actually does not produce agility. Beyond Budgeting, in contrast, is a very smart and successful set of ideas that fill in the gaps. One of the key insights of Beyond Budgeting is the criticality of transparency about strategy, that everyone needs to have a line of sight to the organization's strategy and even to the strategies of other business areas and teams. That line of sight enables everyone at all levels to make decisions that are fully informed by where each other team and the organization as a whole are trying to go.
If you are weak on line of sight and direction, if you are weak on values, you actually, unfortunately, have to be a bit careful with that autonomy.
Let's see how Streamline supports strategy line of sight. An organization or business unit has a mission, like provide best-in-class services for medical claims review and related technology, or be the market leader in search and rescue. Let's go with this one for our example. A vision describes what we think success looks like. Here it's expressed as a set of narratives. These are specific visionary goals. They're how the organization intends to support its mission at this point in time. A vision can change over time as one develops a better understanding of what it will take to achieve the mission, or as parts of the vision are realized and they're replaced with new visions that further advance the mission. It's best if the current vision is made concrete as a set of clear objectives. The more tangible, the better. Here the vision is restated as two objectives. One is to introduce a new product, a rescue robot. The company thinks that the technology is ready for an autonomous search and rescue robot, and that such a product will position the company as a market leader. The second objective is to broaden the company's presence in the search and rescue market. These objectives are more tangible descriptions of the former visionary narratives. Each objective has one or more key results, a desired measurable outcome. The leadership team can then define strategies for achieving the objectives, for realizing the vision. In this example, they decide that the best way to create a highly innovative and effective search and rescue robot product is to treat it as a moonshot effort, which has a lot of autonomy. A strategy can be implemented as an initiative, and for that, a roadmap is defined in general terms as a placeholder. A team is then created to implement the initiative, and they take ownership of the roadmap. They begin by defining their own respective mission, since every team should have a mission. They then define their own vision for what their success looks like. They do that by translating the executive strategy into objectives that make sense for the team's work. In other words, tangible objectives and key results for the team. This is an important concept from beyond budgeting, that rather than having objectives cascaded down, each team or functional area is asked to translate higher-level strategies into their own context. For example, one group might translate a strategy to improve quality into objectives for improving automated test coverage, but another group might translate the same quality improvement strategy into doing more field testing. Yet each implements the higher-level strategy. The team then fleshes out a plan, the roadmap, consisting of a set of capabilities to create or milestones to reach over time. Of course, senior leaders should either approve or help to co-create this, since it embeds milestones and target dates. But it's the team's plan, and it should represent their ideas for how they can realize the strategy that was the reason for their formation. An important aspect of this approach is that the team's objectives are separate from their plan, their roadmap. That enables the team to define higher-level objectives, for example, for team improvement. The reality is that much of a team's work often extends beyond the boundary of what they were formed for. They often support other teams in a collaborative way. Enabling teams to define objectives separate from their plan provides the flexibility to handle this. A team can also create another roadmap if necessary, if they're performing more than one work stream, or they can simply add work items to the existing roadmap. Each of the capabilities or milestones in a roadmap has SMART goals. These enable a team to define its own goals. That's an important element of beyond budgeting, that people set their own targets. Of course, key targets should likely be approved by managers, but the team is in the best position to define specific targets pertaining to the tactical execution of the work. Those targets, the SMART goals, link directly back to team objectives. This provides an important line of sight from project goals to team objectives. And the objectives link back to higher level strategies. These cross-view relationships are visible in the tool views, and one can open linked views with a single click. There is therefore never an excuse that someone does not know what the current strategy is, or its purpose, or why a capability is being created. People always have the full picture available to them, simply and conveniently. This provides the line of sight that's so often missing in projects, and that is so urgently called for by Beyond Budgeting. SMART goals define collective, measurable team outcomes. This is an important element of Beyond Budgeting as well, that teams have collective outcomes rather than individual outcomes. Thus, we have a fully visible and transparent set of objectives, strategies, initiatives for achieving those, and project-level milestones and goals that all link back to our objectives. These links are prominently visible in Streamline. They are also easily edited. Yet despite the convenience, the model is scalable and can accommodate complex products and cross-product and cross-team relationships. It was built to scale. And one can also step back and look at all of the teams, spanning the entire organization, to see what their respective visions are, to see how aligned they are. Remember that a vision translates higher level strategy. So this shows you quickly how people are translating strategies throughout the entire organization. This provides powerful and immediate line of sight throughout the organization. That's essential for moving quickly and efficiently, because it enables everyone to make informed decisions without having to fill their calendars with meetings. It also helps enormously to avoid the waste that's incurred when there is misalignment. Traditional budgeting centers around the budget and force fits everything to match the budget. Specifically, forecasts must match the target, and spending must match what is thought to be needed to meet the target. Also, targets are often used later for assessing performance. Yet this forced alignment generates very dysfunctional behavior. It causes people to game the numbers. For example, there is an inclination to lowball revenue forecasts because those very forecasts will later be matched against actual performance.
A serious problem, not just because it destroys the quality of numbers, but also because it stimulates behavior that is at least borderline unethical. The lowballing, the gaming, the sandbagging, the resource hoarding, these are not the kind of behaviors we would like to see between colleagues. These people are just responding to the system that we have designed for them to operate in. If we want to change behaviors, it's not about fixing people, it's about fixing systems, which again changes behavior. And this is exactly what Beyond Budgeting is doing here, because what we recommend is to separate these three things into three different processes because they are different things.
It's therefore better to separate the targets, forecasts, and allocation decisions into separate numbers and separate processes. That enables people to be fully honest about each. It also enables the organization to decouple the processes for making these estimates. For example, targets might be set annually or after major events. Forecasts might be set quarterly or whenever significant new data arrives. And resource allocation can be taken off a schedule entirely, and resource decisions made whenever investment opportunities present themselves. Let's see how Streamline supports these activities. For project targets, one's usually concerned with delivery date. Streamline lets you set promised by dates. It also shows you the earliest possible delivery date for any capability or milestone based on dependencies, allowed overlap, and the estimates for each capability. It even shows you the critical path, that is, which sequence of dependencies constrain how soon you can deliver. That enables you to focus your attention where it will make the most difference. And it can also account for estimation bias based on historical estimation data. Streamline lets you allocate staff resources, either whole teams or individuals, or any combination of both. The allocation is at two levels, to an initiative and to a capability within that initiative. This highly flexible model makes it easy to put staff resources where they're needed. Streamline will then show you what you will be spending over time, day by day, based on the staff allocations and what people are expected to be working on over time. During the interview, we asked Bjarte about layering on new tools and processes while keeping the old ones in place. He said, "Beyond budgeting is different because it requires that you actually remove a lot of the old stuff and that you change the way you think." He's talking about processes and layering on new processes on top of existing ones. However, when one adds processes, one often adds tools with them. Today's technology organizations often use tools like Atlassian Jira to plan work. Jira is inexpensive, but its add-on for strategy and other higher-level functions are very expensive. So the Atlassian suite ends up costing a lot. So layering more onto this suite is a non-starter. And that's okay, because we already know that if we want to think and work differently, we need to replace our processes with ones that are aligned with a better way of working. And to help us do that, it really helps if our tools support and encourage people to work in that new way, rather than making it difficult for them, because tools have a huge impact on behavior. The way to do this is to pilot the shift with one small initiative and then plan the shift for all the others. Shifting will give people line of sight without expensive add-ons. Everybody. Your people will be able to see at a glance what capability each SMART goal is for and what objective it's trying to achieve, and how that objective translates a higher level strategy. In short, people will know why they're doing what they're doing, and that enables them to powerfully fill in the blanks so that everyone stays aligned as decisions are made every day at all levels of the organization. Everyone's rowing in the same direction. That enables you to go fast, and as Jeff Bezos says, gradatim ferociter, which means step by step ferociously. In other words, you can't skip steps, but you have to put one foot in front of the other. Things take time, there are no shortcuts, but you want to do these steps with passion and ferocity. The last thing you want happening is people wasting time and effort by being unaligned. Work planning in Streamline is based on capabilities and goals. We can still define tasks to be done, but those are for teams to pay attention to. Tasks are not used to assess progress, capacity, or anything. They're only there as penciled-in reminders of who needs to do what at any moment. This is important because technical teams often change their mind about tasks, and so sharing the task list with managers exposes the team to micromanagement. It's much better to keep discussions with management about dependencies and critical paths, as well as SMART goals, and risks, impediments, and how to deal with those. In other words, things that might slow us down, get in our way, or trip us up. And this is great because it shifts the conversation from when you will be done to what's in the way and what can we do about it. Streamline encourages good leadership because it focuses on the right things and empowers people to figure out how to achieve the goals that they set. But people need training in how to be effective leaders. Few people in leadership roles receive such training, or if they do, it's narrowly focused. What they need is full spectrum leadership training so that they are aware of the range of behaviors that are needed in each situation. As Peter Drucker used to say, you need an inside person, an outside person, and a person of action to get things done. People often are aware of one type of leadership, but if they're made aware of others and how those help in different situations, they can become more flexible and much more effective. It also helps them to become aware of areas that they need work on to improve their own leadership skills. That's why Agile 2 Academy's leadership program is full spectrum. It covers the range of leadership behaviors that are needed for effective initiatives. It's based on established research, not some person's individual framework. And while most leadership programs are designed for actual or aspiring C-level executives, our leadership program is designed for everyone else. This is because when executives return from leadership training, they suddenly realize that everyone else in the organization needs leadership training as well. That's what we provide in a cost-feasible and scalable yet highly effective way. The combination of beyond budgeting, leadership training, and Streamline is really powerful. People and teams that are empowered, who have line of sight, who are measured on outcomes, leaders who focus on the right things, on critical paths, issues, and moving things forward, and support for working the way that beyond budgeting tells us, transparency, decoupled forecasting, and resourcing.